things. We had this Reedy Creek discussion earlier, and I sent the link out to this man because he knows a thing or two about it. Mr. Andrew of Legal Mindset.
Hey guys, it's 1:15. It's 1:15 a.m. here, and I'm a couple of cocktails in, which is a perfect time to come on Midnight's Edge. How are you gentlemen doing?
Love it.
It's perfect time to be on the record.
Yes, exactly. On the record, quoted and clipped forever, because the internet is forever.
I'm glad you could join us, even if it was near the end here, because there's been a little bit of a movement in this Reedy Creek stuff. I saw you tweeting about it as well.
Yes. So to give a quick update, a TLDR, and obviously, if you want the long version, you can come over to my channel and watch me go through each of these motions laboriously, and just review them, rank them, and just talk about what the real effect, the real response of that is. But we had two things happen recently in the state case. So there are two cases. There's a federal case and a state case. The state case is very important because if Disney loses that, they lose automatically on almost all of their federal cases, federal charges. So the district recently filed a motion for summary judgment, which, in case you don't know, summary judgment is a way to end a trial early, to turn a trial immediately. So if the judge rules on that summary judgment motion, it's over for Disney. And they had 5 very strong counts in Florida law, each one of which independently is enough to be the end game, to be the Thanos snap for Disney. And each of them are very strong under Florida law and are very well cited. And that dropped on the 15th. Well, Disney has this magical way of just all of a sudden, anytime anything bad happens that it's against Disney or it doesn't look good for Disney, they always have this chafe, this distraction ready. And they sat on their answer. And you're supposed to, when there's a complaint, you're supposed to answer that complaint within a certain period of time. They sat and waited until they responded with this summary judgment motion to give their answer and also to countersue. So now everyone is talking about, oh my God, they're countersuing. Well, the long and short of it is the whole state case is about whether or not these contracts are valid contracts. And the district presented some very strong points, including 5 very strong points in their summary judgment motion, that they are invalid contracts under state law. I happen to agree with the district on this one. And if the court rules for them, it doesn't matter about the counterclaim. All their damages and whatever else is in the counterclaim, completely moot, completely irrelevant. But it does change the mainstream media narrative because they get to have articles like that, which is Disney punches back, Disney fights back in their fight against DeSantis. They get to have a punchy headline, and we all know the mainstream media is in the sack with the rat. They are tumbling around and begging for that bubonic plague by getting in that bedroom. But we know that's the case. And you just see it time and time again. It's a very repeated pattern. It's so much that it's predictable. When anything comes out against Disney, they will have something else to put out to distract you within a couple days. Never count Disney out on that one. So that's what we have right now. That's where we're at. They filed this counterclaim. I think the counterclaim will absolutely fail because I do think that the judge will rule in favor of the district in their summary judgment motion, which will end the state case. And then the federal case will be chopped up. They'll have one remaining count, which I believe will be dismissed. There's actually a pending motion to dismiss in the federal case. So I don't think things look good for Disney right now, despite whatever the mainstream media may say. And that's where we're at.
In other words,
interesting.
Bad news for Disney.
Yeah, it's very, very bad news for Disney. Certainly because once the district wins this, they're now subject to all this oversight that they wanted to escape for so long. And this, over the long term, is going to cost Disney, when I say billions, and then over decades, trillions of dollars, right? In the aggregate, in the long term. This is going to be very expensive for Disney and for their operations in Florida. So this is something that is going to be big for Florida. But at the same time, I think it's lost a little bit of its punch on a national scale. I don't think DeSantis cares as much about it anymore. I don't think it's as stinging. So I think Disney is fighting a losing battle here that eventually is going to end up in a very large court loss.
Yeah, I think that DeSantis, he already gained his political victory from it. He stood up against Disney. Disney, they tried to put like stories out there that a very helpful media tried to spin in their favor when they first did like this stupid legislation based on this house owner law or whatever. You had all of the Disney chills going, checkmate. That didn't last long.
Yes. No, it did not. It did not. They did the checkmate moment was like a week, and then they realized there was other things that were not going well for Disney.
Yeah. And I don't know how much that stuck in the public though, but clearly it's not going well for them. But still, all these billions upon billions, and on a long enough time scale that it's going to cost them trillions. But really, that's the value of their special privilege, because all this does is put them on even foot with everyone else. So it's not so much that they're losing anything compared to the rest of their competitors. What we're seeing right now is the value of their special privilege. So their special privilege on a long enough time scale amounted to trillions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
That's what is what was removed from them.
Absolutely, and that's what they're going to really lose on. And frankly, look, if you're a corporation going against a state, I mean, it's an uphill battle. And when you're talking about governments and the power to create governments and destroy governments, that's a fundamental power of the government. And state law has to rule against Disney. Disney has to take the L here, or else this is going to be a insane legal precedent that will lead to some ridiculous scenarios all across Florida and potentially all across the United States. So that's why I've been very clear from the beginning that this is a loser for Disney.
I would also like to add here that when did this come out? Was it March of 2020 or was it March of 2021?
All of this talks, I think, started percolating around the 2020s, but really in 2021, 2022 is when this kicked up.
So if I wait, sorry, the Christopher Rufo thing. When Bob Chapek was there right before all this, I had my years wrong here, 2022, right? Because that was before Lightyear came out, and if you watch the stock price, according to the start of this fight, they were at 150, and today they're at 85.57, 85.51, according to Yahoo Finance. This, I think, is the moment where they lost popular support, and of course, stock is based off of popular metrics more than the actual literal value of the assets of the company. I think that DeSantis might have struck the largest blow to the Walt Disney Company that anyone has ever done by making this fight very mainstream and putting him against an entire political party, an entire set of values. I'm not trying to blow smoke for Ron DeSantis here, but between Christopher Rufo, who then allied himself with DeSantis because he became a political appointee of Ron DeSantis in some Florida cases, I really think that trying to paint this as anything other than a DeSantis victory, maybe a Pyrrhic victory, but still a victory, I think is dangerous on the part of the media.
And there's two parts of this. There's obviously the political angle and the political battle and the legal battle, right? So you can win a legal battle and look bad and be ruined on the political scale, right? So you can take a W in one and an L in another. But I think for Disney, it really is an L. It's going to be an L in both columns because they didn't really achieve their objectives, and they're way further behind from where they are. And Florida, listen, is not changing in terms of demographics. It's not changing in terms of voting patterns, in terms of who they're electing. And to try to challenge the powers of a state, even if it was a leftist government, they would take umbrage with that. Now, I think it was a leftist governor in Florida. I think maybe they would take a different strategy, right? Maybe as similar to Gavin Newsom. But that being said, I think their best interest really would have been to work with Florida because Florida is very pro-business. Florida had them open, had the cruise lines open, had businesses and hotels open faster than anybody else. How do I know that? Because I was working for in-house counsel for the hotel industry during COVID. I was getting these things opened, and I was representing a company that had businesses in California and businesses in Florida. It was a light year difference between the two. So it was really just a cell phone on the part of Disney I think in both categories. And clearly the law is very clearly on DeSantis' side and really on the district and the state side, because DeSantis aside, it's really the state and the powers of the state against Disney. That's what these cases are about. They're not really about DeSantis. Remove DeSantis, his ego, his baggage, and all that stuff from this. It's about a state versus a single corporation. Which one is going to prevail?
My question is always timescale. Because I also do not think that the outcome is in doubt here. But based on what you said earlier, that the judge now has, what was it, 5 different instances where he can do like a summary verdict and just end this thing once and for all. What's the timeline for when this thing actually reaches a judge, and the likelihood that the judge decides, I'm not wasting any more taxpayer money on this. This is done.
Well, it's already at court, right? So it's in front of a judge. It hasn't gotten to a jury trial yet. And I do think this can be concluded before a jury trial. In fact, the summary judgment motion, absent any procedural trickery, which never count that out for Disney. They're actually very good at that. I give them a lot of credit because their lawyers are very good with procedural trickery. So don't count it out on Disney on procedural tricks. But absent that, there should be a response within 40 days to the summary judgment motion, a ruling on that. And once we have that, that's going to be major in terms of how the federal case proceeds and how the cases proceed. So we should have a ruling on that very, very soon in the state case. So that's the timeline there, certainly before the election of next year, and certainly before the primaries would finish. So this is a kind of an important keystone for timing, because even though the state case is just the district versus Disney, Ron DeSantis isn't a party to that. He's perceived as a party to that. He's perceived as party to that agreement. So I think that actually will play out in the political sphere as well.
So also, if this were dirty politics here, who appointed the judge that is in charge of this case?
Well, the state case is a state judge, which is appointed by the Judicial Nominating Committee. So that does have influence from the governor, from the state, right? But these committees do change over time. However, the federal judge was appointed by Trump.
Yep.
So the federal judge is a Trump appointee.
Yep.
Yeah. Versus, by the way, the first judge in the federal case was an Obama appointee who hated DeSantis. But was removed himself from the case because a third cousin owned 30 shares of Disney stock. I'm not kidding.
Right after DeSantis pointed out that, hey, you've weighed in on this before you ever had anything to do with this, and you've already said that Ron DeSantis damaged the Disney company with his war on woke.
Yep. Exactly.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There, you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe, and join us.